Breaks the story today that Lamar's fallen asleep in meetings, that, he's playing video games late into the night.
The relationship between the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson has reached a point of no return. Reports coming out saying that Lamar Jackson is sleeping through team meetings, playing video games up till 3 in the morning, and the relationship with Jim Harbaugh is completely broken. Two things are going to happen. Either Lamar leaves or Harbaugh leaves, and there's no other way around it. The Ravens are 7-8, and for the first time, the unthinkable is being discussed. Once again, do you trade the two-time MVP Lamar Jackson if you are the Baltimore Ravens? Lamar Jackson will have a $74 million cap hit in 2026. So the Ravens are either going to have to extend him, which is going to be probably north of $60 million a year, or just absolutely hit the reset button and trade him. Now, there are reports coming out that they are looking at extending him as we speak, but with new reports coming out saying that him and Harbaugh are not having the best relationship, this is something that I've been calling for a long time. There was just a weird vibe around it. You got two options. Either Lamar goes or Harbaugh goes, because they cannot both stay. The Ravens have hit their peak. They failed to get Lamar Jackson a true wide receiver one. Defense, for the most part, that Lamar has been a Baltimore Raven, has been good, but obviously this year is probably going to be the nail in the coffin. Fans are tired. Lamar's tired. The Ravens are tired. They need to do something, and they will. Since 2018, Lamar Jackson and Harbaugh have only won 3 playoff games. That is simply not going to cut it. Lamar has been hurt, the injuries stack up, and this is just what comes with his play style. If I were the Ravens, I would love to take an approach kind of like how Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs take it. Patrick Mahomes only gets to run in when they absolutely need to win and when it gets late in the season. And when they get in the playoffs, Mahomes absolutely kills teams with his legs. If you can preserve him through the regular season and only use the legs when you absolutely need to, and you can just let him loose and run all over guys in the playoffs, that is a perfect situation to be in. And do not get me wrong, Lamar Jackson is a generational talent, but the injuries are stacking up. In my opinion, you cannot let Lamar Jackson leave the Baltimore Ravens if you are the general manager, but that is just something that's not guaranteed. The last time we got to this point, when we're talking contracts, negotiations, and this and that, Lamar Jackson was almost out the door. They were talking about trading him. Teams around the league weren't too interested. Let's call it what it was. Teams around the league, the first time around that Lamar Jackson was available, teams just came out flat out and said, we're not going to give you a haul for Lamar Jackson, which I thought then and I think now is a mistake. I think Lamar Jackson, like I said, generational talent, great quarterback. He just needs to be in the right system. Though the Baltimore Ravens have not gotten Lamar a serious weapon on the outside the entire time that he has been a Baltimore Raven. Zay Flowers is not a wide receiver one. Zay Flowers is a good wide receiver two to a gadget guy. That's about it. So this leaves us to the big question. Where will Lamar Jackson go, if anywhere? The biggest landing spot, you probably heard it before, the Miami Dolphins. They're keeping Mike McDaniel. Reports are coming out that they expect him to be the head coach for the Miami Dolphins next year. We know he is a great offensive mind, and we know Lamar is from South Florida. He is a South Florida native. He would love to play for the Dolphins. He has said this before, long ago. He grew up a Dolphins fan after being a Cowboys fan and whatnot. Obviously, the Ravens are not going to take Tua. So this is going to get really complicated if he were to want to go and play and be a Miami Dolphin. It would get super complicated, especially, like I said, because of Tua's contract. I don't know how they would fix it or work around it, but you look at a team like the Denver Broncos. They said, screw that cap hit. We don't want Russ. We're not going to be prisoners to him, and they got rid of him. And that's what the Miami Dolphins are going to do with Tua. So no, I do not think you can include Tua in the Ravens trade package. But I mean, if you get Lamar Jackson, you can't tell me Tyreek Hill is not going to stay a Miami Dolphin. You got Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Lamar Jackson. Now, I do have my questions about an all-speed lineup. It doesn't really work. It hasn't really worked with the Dolphins, but I think that's part of just Tua doesn't have an arm. Tua is a very limited quarterback, and Lamar Jackson checks a lot more boxes for you if he were a Dolphin. Another spot, the Las Vegas Raiders. Tom Brady is super high on Lamar Jackson. He has came out and said this multiple times. If you're able to keep Crosby, get some more pieces on the offensive line, get another receiver, I think that this would be a great fit for Lamar, but it is the Raiders at the end of the day, so I don't think he would be too found on becoming a Las Vegas Raider. Another potential spot, maybe the Ravens take on Kyler Murray in a Kyler Lamar swap. Now, obviously, the Cardinals will have to send a couple players or picks to the Ravens, because that will not be a straight up trade that the Ravens would make or even entertain making. Lamar Jackson is such a better quarterback than Kyler Murray. But if you get a guy like Kyler Murray in, that takes out the possibility of having a bad stretch of 4 or 5 years of really bad football and really bad quarterback play. So who knows? Maybe they roll the dice and they try to bring Kyler Murray back to life. But I don't think that that is something they should do, especially with a quarterback at that size. But it's definitely on the table. And if they give up enough, who knows? Another one personally I really like, the Vikings. KOC, can he get his quarterback in time? I think that he will. How will it come? I don't know, but here's an option. Maybe the Ravens take a roll on the dice on JJ McCarthy. Maybe you trade JJ McCarthy a boatload of picks and maybe another semi-important player for Lamar Jackson. They take the roll of the dice on JJ. Maybe somebody in the front office during the draft process was high on JJ McCarthy. And like I said, with KOC being an offensive guru, I have no doubt that he can get the best play out of Lamar Jackson possible, especially if they keep Brian Flores as defensive coordinator, which brings me to my next team. It's the Baltimore Ravens. Just keep him. He is a generational quarterback. You do not let a guy like that walk. You do not let the franchise of the Baltimore Ravens, which is in the hands of Lamar Jackson, walk. You do not do that. I would love, absolutely love to see Brian Flores become the head coach of the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar stay, and you just hit the reset around Lamar. Rebuild around Lamar Jackson. Brian Flores is one of the few coaches who has found out over the years how to attack Lamar Jackson, how to contain Lamar Jackson. So I do believe with the right offensive coordinator, Brian Flores and Lamar Jackson would thrive as a head coach quarterback partnership. But it's going to be hard to rebuild around Lamar because they do things like sign Mark Andrews to what I would call a legacy contract. I do not think in any shape or form this was a smart signing, especially when you have Isaiah Likely, a younger, more mobile, higher ceiling tight end that you still have to pay. And after paying Mark Andrews, who knows if they're going to be able to keep him. So the Ravens have just done a lot of bad things to their team. And the only thing, in my opinion, I don't think firing Harbaugh will be enough to fix that. I think you have to go complete rebuild. You know, you keep your Marlon Humphreys, you keep your Derrick Henrys, you keep your Lamar Jacksons. Nate Wiggins is great. Kyle Hamilton, absolutely great. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. Keep the important pieces and rebuild everything around them. They need help on that offensive line. Now look, Lamar Jackson has a no trade clause, so that means he holds the cards. He has all of the power. If he leaves, it's only because Lamar Jackson, wants to leave. If they keep him, they could be in salary cap hell. But if they let him leave, they're going to be in a bad spot for a long time because quarterbacks nowadays are thin. And I don't think that college QBs are going to get any better over time. It looks like they're just going to get worse and worse. But that's a topic for another day. I have a video on that if you want to check it out. So yeah, it's not all Lamar's fault. That defense is really bad. They ranked 21st this year. They're 7-8. You've hit your ceiling. It's time to move on, whether that's trading Lamar, whether that's firing Harbaugh. One or the other has to happen, or both, because this is not going to work. This is it. The rubber has hit the road. Let me know what you think in the comments. Does he stay? Does he leave? I'll be reading and replying to all. It's been your boy Dave, man. Make sure you check out all the other videos. I'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace.